Scoring Explosions, where we talk about all things Husker offense. And we did see some offense this week with 38 points, most of that coming in the second half. 31 points in the second half, is that right? Oh, that's not bad, right?
No reason to boo there, man. A lot of good offense.
No, they ended the game on a high note. It took quite a while to warm up. But the run game did actually show up quite a bit there, especially in the fourth quarter. And the run-pass ratio that you just brought up there, Honky, was more to our liking. That's for certain. Casey Thompson, 14 of 21, but with 41 rushing attempts, led by Anthony Grant's 23 with a big 189 yardage for Anthony Grant. Definitely showing he's RB1 there, it looks like. 2 touchdowns. A.J. Allen also having some separation as the number 2 back, although I still think that maybe – Gabe Irvin or Yant or Ramir could get another shot at that. But Anthony Grant does seem to be separating there. Honky, what do you think overall about the offensive performance?
Yeah, I think it's a tale of two halves. And in my head, walking away, I had Alex with me, so I did have to leave at half. And I never leave early, only when I have Alex and I take him to one game a year. But as we were driving home, in my head, I was booing the team in my head. Not out loud, but in my head I was. I didn't like what I was seeing from the run-pass ratio, all those things. Really, the first 6 quarters, I just didn't like. And I said the same thing a week ago on this show. From a constructive standpoint, we need to be able to run the football. We need to be able to use the legs of Casey. In that second half, we see him scrambling. We see him rolling out little rolls. The touchdown pass to Chancellor Brewington. He's getting out of the pocket. It's a little play-action rollout. Get him out. And then we ran option. I'm defensive a little bit of the offensive line because I think sometimes it's so unfair what gets put on them. Look, they make mistakes, and there's times where they have individual blowups, absolutely. But there are times schematically we can be doing things to make things easier on them, rolling things out, keeping backs in the backfield and chip blocking, and not just having it be an empty backfield. Those are things that you can do to help your quarterback in the pocket, because we do have a much improved pocket awareness quarterback now with Casey. It's not even, to me, that is unquestionable. Give him a good pocket compared to Martinez, and it's night and day difference. He is comfortable sitting in there. He finds the guy. He releases it on time. And if you give him a bunch of pressure, Dave, you said it before the first game, you give him a bunch of pressure and he's thrown off his back foot too. And so the point is, if you're going to give him a pocket, do some things to give him the best pocket you can, chip blocking, all that. And if not, use his legs, roll him out a little bit, get him moving. I think that he's going to put a lot of stress on defenses. So I think there's something that can really be built off of from that second half.
Boomer, what do you think there? I mean, there was questions about Casey's health at the end of that Northwestern game with his thumb. I didn't see anything of that nature, right? It felt like overall Thompson's healthy. They just decided to run the ball in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was working. I mean, at some point you just have to go with what's working in a game. I mean, you may draw up certain things, but if they're giving you, running with Grant, then that's what you got to go with. So, I was also slightly concerned. Thompson ran to the medical tent at one point during that game. I wasn't sure what to make of that, but he came back out and saw the field. So, no worries there. Again, it's just, I don't know what to make of this game yet. This is kind of the thing where on its own, it looked good. But again, just like my opening statement, I refer to last year, we looked good against Fordham. We struggled a little bit early and then, and we thought we established something there, and then never quite.
Fordham last year, I almost forgot that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing. We started sluggish, and Fordham was, punching hard, and then, that game was a bigger blowout than this, and North Dakota is a better team than Fordham. I don't think anyone was going to question that, but
right.
I need to see this game as part of a bigger picture. So I want to see what they do with it. Are they going to take what they learned from this game and actually do something with it? Or did this just happen to be a late game fluke where we overpowered a team where we should be overpowering a team with just the talent we have and the roster size and the fact we're at home? I don't know. So, and is this coaching staff going to take what they learned from it and do something with it? Are they going to communicate with each other or whatever it is they're supposed to be doing and
collaborate?
That's what I want to see. Collaborate. Yeah, let's go with collaborate. So it's a possible building block, but I'm reserving judgment. So
So I didn't have time to hear the presser, but Rob, obviously you listened to it today, and I think it builds off of some of our conversation in the rapid reaction on Saturday night a little bit. I mean, this question of like who was calling plays in the second half, and why did the offensive philosophy become more creative in the second half? I mean, what are your takes on that, and what do you expect to see this Saturday?
Well, I mentioned it on Saturday, and I'll say it again, and I've seen some other people on social media talk about it a little bit here and there, and you saw Frost walk over to Whipple at one point during the game. There's video of it out there. People can look it up all they want. Of him, they stood next to each other. They weren't arguing. There was no there didn't seem to be any sort of discourse, anything like that. It was just basically the two of them having a conversation, nodding their heads to each other, coming to some kind of an agreement, because Frost just kind of looked at him, and then I can't remember if he patted him on the back or what he did, but then he turned around, he walked back the other way because the defense was coming on the field. I think it was right after a touchdown, and I think it was basically, in my guess, and I'm just guessing here, it was a conversation kind of like, yeah, see, if we work this with that, and we do this scheme right here and do these plays with that, this is what's going to work for us. And obviously this is because, and it could be game to game. We might, again, the run pass ratio of this game was what, 41 to 23 or 26 or something like that. And we could turn around next week easily and see it again more like Northwestern, because that's what the defense is giving us. And this week, I think that's what it turned into. Well,
Northwestern was giving us. That's the problem, Rob, right?
Absolutely not. They came out guns a-blazing and throwing. And
they always come out though. Like in the 4 starting drives, Frost made that point today though. He said in our first drive in the first half and our first drive in the second half in both games, what did they do? They came out and they scored touchdowns because they seem to work really well when everything is schemed out. Right. And then from that point on, I think they started doing what the defense was giving them, and that was the run.
Well, you can scheme a lot of things. Well, but no, Rob. You need.
I just went back and watched the game again, and I'm just saying it just seemed like the run was working, and so that's what they started going to. They ran 11 times in a row at one point.
Well, after they've had 5 turnovers in 2 games, every single turnover has come out of the passing game. 3 interceptions, a sack, that's a fumble, and then a fumble that shouldn't have been a fumble off of a catch. But for what it's worth, 5 turnovers have all come out of the passing game.
Yeah. Now, and 2 of those interceptions hit the receiver's hands, so you can't really put that on Thompson.
I don't care. That's the passing game. It's there's the old saying that there's 3 things that can happen on a pass, and only one of them is good. So don't tell me it's a drop. Don't tell me it's a missed block, and that's why he got sacked, and that's why he fumbled it. Don't tell me that we can't run option because a guy's going to get hurt. I don't want to run our quarterback 25 times a game, but to Boomer's point, our guy's going to the tent because he's getting hit in the pocket too. And it can be because for all the people that say the O-line's terrible, fine. It could be for that. It could be because of other reasons where we aren't chip blocking or there's a lot of things that go wrong when the pass goes wrong. We need to develop a running game, and we need to be doing it now. The earlier, the better. You're not going to develop a running game in November when you're finally playing Minnesota and those guys. You got to be developing it now. And developing the run game for us means getting the quarterback involved in it. Because we're not going to line up in double tight ends, under center with full house backfields and fullbacks. That's not our style. So we're going to do what we do. And we did some innovative look in that second half. You saw Chris.
I don't disagree.
You saw Brewington out there more. You saw Manning out there more. You saw some different sets. You saw some bigger guys out there. We'll get Vokalek before the game. For a guy that hurt his ankle, Vokalek is out there doing jumping jacks with the team, which is great to see. I have no doubt that we will see Vokalek back sooner than later, and he's a big part of this offense. He's a great blocking part of it, and he's a huge target that's going to be great for Casey Thompson. I think percentage-wise, what we saw in this 41-21 today, that's a low number of plays, but if we're going to have about 80 plays, I think we're going to be best somewhere around a 50-30 kind of thing. 50 runs, 30 passes. If you were going for 80 plays, that would probably be about, on any given average day, that would be a good ratio for us.
Well, and I don't disagree. I like the run. I actually think I said that on Saturday that Honky's gonna blow. I'm gonna blow his mind by saying like, oh my God, run the damn ball. I mean, if we're gonna use the run to open the pass and we pass less than we run, that's fine.
Well, but get creative.
Yeah, I just I just wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, and most of the Big Ten teams, I agree, are good against the run. That's one thing that they are good. But also, most of those teams didn't really show a whole lot of anything this weekend either. You know what I mean? Like, looking at it, like, how many of those Big Ten teams did you look at and go, oh my God, they're going to kill the entire league this year? You know, I mean, none of those teams looked very good at anything, you know, other than maybe defense.
Iowa's
defense is good.
You don't need an offense to win the Big Ten.
Iowa was playing a team in the same league as North Dakota. You know that?
Sure.
And generally speaking, slightly better. But point taken there, Rob. Could we? I wanted to go back to Honky with the pass offense and the run and Vokalek in particular. I mean, to your point, hopefully we see Travis Vokalek back. It seems like we have a lot of tight ends in that room. The second string tight end, I'm going to mispronounce his name. Honky, can you help me with?
Are you talking about Borkircher and
Borkircher? Is that how you say it? Borkircher. Yep. It's intriguing. I mean, is he still a walk-on, or has he earned a scholarship?
I don't know if he's earned the scholarship yet, but he's came here as a walk-on.
Yeah. And look, I mean, he got a touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. Looked better. He did, maybe looked a little bit trying to get up to speed in that Northwestern game when Travis Vokalek went out. But it is intriguing to me that we haven't seen Chris Hickman. We did see him a little bit in this game, but I mean, like, I'd be thinking from a downfield passing threat, and he's played a lot. Isn't that like Chris Hickman hasn't seen the field in the last couple of years, that he isn't on there a little bit more? Same thing. I'd love to start seeing AJ Rollins out there. It seems like we have some depth there that I'm not seeing yet. I'm a little surprised about that.
That's what you started to see some in the second half, and they're on the field. So Rollins did start to play there.
Good. Okay. Hickman getting I saw Hickman. I didn't see Rollins.
Mm-hmm. And it is, I think Rob made this point earlier, and this is very important. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to any Redcasters out there right now. Some of these guys are literally playing their first games of college football. A guy, we'll talk about defense later, but a guy like Colton Feast, I mean, he's been in the program for 4 years, but he's just finally playing his first games. He hasn't really played football at this level in a number of years. And Borkircher, I mean, he played very sparingly, if that, a year ago. So now they're playing meaningful minutes. So, and Borkircher was one of those guys that had a drop or two, in the Northwestern game. And if anything came out of this, you talked about Iowa and them playing South Dakota State and us playing North Dakota. If nothing else came out of this, I really wish this was our first game last week. Yeah. I wish we didn't, looking back on it now, I wish we didn't go to Ireland, only for the sense that with all the change that happened this offseason with the roster and the coaching staff,
could have used a game.
Could have used a game like this, because that's the thing with Iowa. They win 7-3 in the ugliest way they have to score 3 times to get 7, but they win the game and they're going to be better for it. Now they're fixing things in practice this week and getting a couple guys healthy, and they'll show up and play Iowa State and they'll probably beat them 35-10. They probably will. And the most important thing for Iowa that came out of that day was they were 1-0. For us, the same thing could have been said. The most important thing is we come out of that game 1-0. And the problem is that, we came out of that day 1-0, but we had the one loss hanging on us already from the week before. And we don't know how good Northwestern's going to be or not be. Northwestern might win the darn West again, and at the end of the season, we're looking at a 3-point loss to the West champs. Who knows? We don't know that yet, but it's so early. I just wish, that I think that game, I'm hoping this is my scarlet colored glasses, Dave. This is me crossing the fingers. I think that they saw some things that started to work, and I'm like, you can build off of this. We're going to get to defense, so I don't even want to get into the blitzes and the man-to-man stuff. But on offense, the things we did with Casey, some of the personnel groups that they were doing, they were different than what we saw a lot of the first 6 quarters. So maybe we're starting to see them figure some things out.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, remind me, I'm just thinking through the offensive performance, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the rapid reaction. Maybe our listeners can go back and listen to that, but I think it was a good conversation about having kind of playmakers at every different kind of position group. Last year, there was a coach or a player who mentioned, like, hey, we just knew we had to stop Adrian Martinez. We need to stop number 2, and we didn't have anybody else to worry about. Remember that? Or was it a couple of years ago? I don't know who that was, but there was a quote saying, like, hey, look, Adrian Martinez is how that drink is stirred at Nebraska, and if you can stop Adrian, you're going to win the game. It does feel like I'd love to see this offense continue to evolve, and that there's some individual performances where in some game Casey Thompson does just kind of take over and have a great game like he did versus Oklahoma while he was at Texas. But you see Trey Palmer may have that potential in him to kind of take over a game. We've already seen Anthony Grant starting to do that. You could claim he took over the game there in the fourth quarter.
Co-offensive player of the Big Ten this week.
Yeah, you could see Travis Vokalek potentially do that as a tight end position. Maybe defensively, someone like Garrett Nelson could do that, or O'Shawn. It'd be awesome to start seeing those things happen where you see a lot more depth of the dudes that kind of can really make a difference, really make their imprint. I think they make a big difference on the perception of the program if we go in a few games with individuals really leading the way different each time, you know?
Mm-hmm. Rob, I want to apologize to you earlier about the passing stuff. I feel like I attacked you there, and I didn't mean to do that. I want to see from the beginning of the game, what I'd really want to see is Casey, even if we threw the ball 6 times on the opening drive, but he's rolling out and moving the pocket kind of thing. That what was so unimaginative for 6 quarters was pocket passes or a handoff, just straight handoff. Yep. And really, quite honestly, not very good fakes even.
I mean, that's not good. That's not good football, no matter what level you're on.
It really was. It was almost like it was safe, and it was like, let's not make the mistake. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but to me, what we started to see in that fourth quarter, kind of with their backs against the wall, where it's like, you got to, Rob, you said it perfect on the rapid reaction. When they tied it up at 17-17, this season is on the brink. This team is either going to fold and this is it, or boom, they came around with 21 straight points, pushing the ball down the field and doing the things that they needed to do. So they took the right route of the two. And I think with their backs against the wall a little bit, we saw them do some things and open some things up that maybe they thought they didn't have to do against Northwestern or North Dakota. I don't care. These are things we're going to have to do against everybody. There's just nobody on the schedule is irrelevant to me right now. We've got to figure some things out that are going to work for us and then just do them. Let's get good at what we do. Don't worry about who we play. Just get good at what we do.